Welcome back. Hope y'all having a great day or a great morning or a great evening, depending on what part of the world, whatever time zone you on. Pelicans Daily presented by Fan Arts. I'm your host, Dylan Bruton. Make sure to like, to share, to subscribe. You know the drill when you're chilling with Dill. All right, let's get right to it. So, still going in, preseason mode, still looking at things moving ahead as we progress. Season is time ticking, time ticking. Um, we've got a lot to look forward to, but going in the off season, we're still in the off season portion though, so there's still a lot of conversation being drummed up, and a guy that previously mentioned and talked about, but want to talk about a little further. My guy Jay Poole. It's a pool party. Now that's I've explained that as far as like player mentalities go, who I can relate to within my life as far as hooping and whatnot. Definitely Jordan Poole is a guy who I've always relate is a guy who I can relate to, and is a player who it's funny. I mean, like we're the same. Me and him are the same graduating year, so it's funny to look at him succeed where he's at, and then look at me. Nah, that's all good. Ain't comparing myself to nobody, but Jordan Poole. Anyway, getting right to it though, Jordan Poole, we made the trade for him, trading C.J. McCollum and Kelly Olynyk, and then we received Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey, and a second round pick, which we used to select Micah Peavy. And I like the trade. You know what I'm saying? I was all for it, especially because we had to. I love CJ, but we had to get someone younger. We had to get somebody who had a bit more time to still elevate and change the trajectory of their game. With CJ was good, but you knew like, all right, he's probably pretty much reached the ceiling. Uh, Anything is possible, but it's very unlikely that a player at 33, 34 is going to really elevate and change much of his game after that. Last year, though, Jordan Poole, after a really rough first year, in his first year in Washington, he turned it around. Jordan Poole averaged nearly 21 a game, 3 boards, 4.5 assists, 29 minutes a game, and shot an unreal, using the same adjective that Chris used, but I like that one because it's a great way to put it because this is a crazy stat. Nearly 38% from three on 9 attempts a game, which is fifth highest in the entire league. Now that's crazy efficiency, a nearly 40% clip on 9 threes a game. One area that we struggled in, I mean, what area didn't we struggle in? But you know what I'm saying? One area that we really struggled in was 3-point shooting. And having a player who is able to not only attempt but make that many type of threes, that goes a long way. We were bottom 5 throughout the league in 3-point attempts and makes, and having someone who is not only a high volume shooter but is efficient with it, it goes a long way. And then, so that was one of the contention points about how Jordan Poole can level up is him keeping that consistency going. If he's able to shoot well, if he's able to be that type of player for us, it's gonna go a long way. I mean, shooting matters. Is valued, and we've got some great talent with Zion, with Trey. They're gonna need guys to kick the ball out to when they're creating. We've got a lot of spacing that we're gonna need, so it works perfectly. And then the other thing that Chris brought up, but I agree, is Jordan Poole's success for this experience to be a success. He's going to have to play a lot more at the point guard. He's going to have to be a lot more consistent in that regard. And obviously, Jordan Poole, when he was in Golden State, he had the luxury of he was able to be kind of a spark plug. He was able to be off the bench shooting guard. Sometimes he got in as a starter, but doesn't have that same type of luxury. You know what I'm saying? Maybe things might change once DeJounte comes back from his Achilles injury. But Jordan Poole, in the meantime, he's got to hold it down, and that might change the dynamic of things. Certain things might be impacted by that, but that's going to be huge for him to be more of a point guard, to be more of a distributor, to embrace being that kind of on court quarterback and leader all in one. And he's got championship experience. He's going to be the only guy. He's likely going to be one of the only guys. Well, it depends on if Looney starts. We'll see. If Looney starts, then them two will be the only ones on the floor consistently who have championship experience. So we shall see. All right, this is a little funny small thing, but I laughed, and y'all gonna laugh at the next one especially. Oh my gosh, this next one had me dying. So the NBA implemented a new rule now where with half court heaves, yes, this is what they spent time on the offseason. Half court heaves will now be counted as a miss for the team, not the individual player. Now, why is this? Oh, I would probably guess that they want to be able to, make shooting percentages look better across the board. You've got people, what I'm saying, like Nikola Jokic, like Kobe White, like Peyton Pritchard, who they attempt a lot of those shots, and it doesn't really do too much damage to their field goal percentage. So maybe they want to clean up efficiency more, but also they want to be able to, I guess make it more noticeable. It truly is like dumbfounding of like, this is what y'all are spending time on. And in turn, you have an Adam Silver say that, which completely just not read the room, just completely like, what I'm saying? Like, really? Like, this is what we talking about? But it was saying the NBA is a highlight sport, and, when people are asking about like the ways to watch the game, the ways to catch a game, kind of like they can go on their phone, they can check Instagram. It's like, really? And I'm just talking about this with some of my classmates about like, we in essence, with all this streaming that's available and around, we still want cable. We still want to be able to have that simple cable, you know what I'm saying? But now you're paying for cable prices with all these different streaming devices, so that's just more expenses tacked on. And is the quality the same? It's kind of like, like I got League Pass, but when you have games blocked off and all that, it'd be so annoying because you can't watch certain games if you're in a certain city, so it's just frustrating. And then, but yeah, Chris brought up, he said Devontae Graham would be the perfect player to have on the team. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I know Chris brought him up kind of jokingly, but Devontae Graham as an off the bench player, not totally opposed. Not totally opposed. He's right now playing in Serbia with Crvena Zvezda. Try saying that 5 times fast. Of the KSL, and he was in the G League last year. And he was, a valuable tanker for us in the 2021-22 season. But, hey, certain rules are being made, certain things are being put in place. A little something fun, a little something small. But yeah, I don't think that like the rule change is gonna really have a huge impact. But for someone like him who he's made 1 out of 16 half-court heaves, I mean, hey, his field goal efficiency would look a little better, look a little nicer. Who knows? But then, okay, now this article had me dying, like absolutely dying. I was almost like, I kind of pitied, the dude. But Athlon Sports, shout out Nathaniel Holloway. Now, hey, Nathaniel, I'm not trying to insult you. I'm not trying to make you look bad, but because it's funny, like it may or may not be available now. The article, I don't know, but this came out 3 days ago, and it was talking about players that could be dealt. Now, these articles are just going, and the only reason why I wanted to bring this story up is it just goes to show that they're not watching Pelicans ball. They're not at all really tapped in like that. They're not at all really watching the game. It is a lot of highlight and box score watching. So perhaps in conjunction in support of what Adam Silver is saying, maybe, yes, maybe he's just speaking to really what the large scale scope is. I'm still a guy that I love sitting and watching a game. I try to find different ways to watch a game, whether I watch it on my TV, watch it on my phone, go to a bar. But I'm an invested fan. I'm not no casual, so it's a little different for me. But yeah, Nathaniel, yo, this dude. So he put in this article, he put Trey Murphy III, which no, like we'd have to really be stupid to trade away him. And I'm sorry, I'll put in the call to make sure that don't happen. He put in Jordan Poole, which I've sadly seen people put articles with Jordan Poole, and I guess to some degree he has a little bit more expendability than a Trey Murphy III. Or next one, obviously, Zion. There's not a Pelicans article on the internet without mentioning trading Zion. I mean, it amazes me again. It absolutely amazes me the way that the tide has shifted. I remember when people couldn't get enough of Zion. I remember when people were talking about Zion like he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And now every other article is about, we got to get rid of him. 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 How about let the young man play? I mean, yes, he's got to stay healthy, but when he's healthy, again, 25, 7 and 5 in under 30 minutes. Come on, like, what are we talking about here, man? What are we talking about here? And then also Jose Alvarado, which he's probably the most expendable player on the team. I don't like saying it. But that's just the reality of it. It's just the unfortunate cold reality of it. And then last but not least, the reason why I picked this story. This dude put Elfrid Payton, which yo, I was dead ass in disbelief. I was like, no way, ain't no way that you would put Elfrid Payton. Elfrid Payton has not been on the team. I know he briefly had a 10-day, then had like a longer extension contract, but he's not on the roster, man. He's not on the roster. I don't know what time zone, I don't know what time, arc that you're in right now, my man, but he's not on the team. We did not bring him back as a free agent. He's not there. I wouldn't be opposed to Elfrid Payton. Elfrid Payton's another player who would add value as a veteran, as a defender, as a distributor, as an athletic playmaker. Now, he doesn't offer much shooting, which that's what makes it tough, but I wouldn't be opposed. Like, again, so it is kind of funny, but he ain't on the team, man. But this just goes to show, and I'm not trying to discredit him or Athlon. They got some great articles, but these people don't watch ball, man. They just don't. They don't watch the game. They're not tapped in and in tune, and that's why their takes have no context and they're so off base. And when we go out there and prove people wrong, I'm just gonna say I told you so. I'm not apologizing for it either. I'm really not, because there's no point. Like, y'all just be showing me that you don't watch the game. You don't watch ball. And if you don't watch ball, then don't try to present your analysis and your perspective and thoughts as the Bible, as the grain, as the gold gospel, as something that I should take seriously, as something that I should hold weight. I'm just not. Get your facts right. You know what I'm saying? So I say that with all niceness, but I say that as a journalist, because one thing that I cannot stand is disinformation. One thing I cannot stand is when people twist and contort different narratives and agendas that either aren't there, that don't exist, and they just present information without doing the real research, without doing the work. You know what I'm saying? Don't present work that isn't factually correct. It does you a disservice as a journalist. more than anything. So, I might be a little out of my range and zone, but hey, Nathaniel, if you're watching this video, my man, that's gotta work on that because he ain't on the team. I can understand, how you would have made the mistake, um, but he ain't on the team. He is not on the team. You know what I'm saying? He might be. Maybe you're speaking from the future. Maybe that is the time arc that you're in, but he might be on the team again. There's a good possibility of that, but likely not. Likely not. But let's get to a story that I really enjoyed and wanted to talk about. So the New York Times, through The Athletic, shout out to them. William Gilroy wrote this article, and I'm wondering if maybe that's the Don Guillory who be or Gilroy. I'm not always the best with pronunciations. If maybe that's him, maybe that's the OG himself. But because we're less than 2 weeks away from media day, which is the next stage of all season. That's when all these questions are going to be asked and addressed to our coaching staff, to our front office, and really get into the nitty gritty about the layout and landscape of this team. Our preseason schedule is going to be very interesting because we play in Australia first for our exhibition games on the 3rd and the 5th against one of the Australian NBL teams. And it's going to be a small showcase to see like what we're going to be doing, but it's going to be exciting nevertheless. And there's going to be a lot of questions. There's going to be a lot of questions that we want to see answered and addressed in both that media day and on the game. Now, looking at things, this was a really well-written article. And it talked about just some moves that we had made, obviously, with the CJ McCollum trade, keeping Willie as head coach, which I know some people felt like he should have been out, he should have been gone. But I think, there's reason why, and I think Joe Dumars being a players guy, it makes sense why he would keep a players coach. Us being able to re-sign Herb Jones to his extension with a great deal, one of the best contracts that I've seen. And then obviously the trade, trading down after trading down our other pick, and then trading to get to, trade up to get their queen. We did a lot. We didn't go under the notice. We didn't go under the radar by any means. And then also it touched on David Griffin and his inability to be a unifying figure. And I think that is a great way to put it, because David Griffin seems like a good enough guy, but there's a difference in energy. There's a difference in respect and the weight that it carries. And I was watching Ryan Clark and Peter Schrager on TV, and Ryan kind of put Peter in his place about him not being a player and not having the ability to cover and understand the game on certain aspects. And Peter got mad, and it led to a bit of a back and forth that I guess spilled out over behind the scenes, which led to Ryan putting out an apology tweet and such. I don't know if Peter did. I didn't check. But I say this as someone who, I played in high school, played intramural, whatever, in college, but like nothing like super serious. But I tend to take and I know people have noticed, I tend to take the side of players more, because I just think there's so much on a mental aspect that you go through as a professional athlete that isn't really addressed, and there's so much psychologically you're impacted by when you're playing. So it's very easy for people to look and say, oh, well, I could do that. Well, go ahead. Like Hope said, well, that's a very what do you say? We say that's a very big lens. You're gonna need a wide lens because that's a very big shoe. Yeah. You're gonna need a wide lens because that's a very big shoe. Said that on the ruler's back. It's easy for people to assume that they could just walk in and be a pro athlete and just, like, if I lived that, I could do, like, you think that. You think that. For some people watching this, maybe they're on the verge of that. I don't know. But it is not an easy road. Everyone that I know that's in the league right now, they're like this, and anybody that I've ever met that played pro ball, they're like, it's no joke. It just takes you to another level. So, in regards to me saying all that, right? Dave Griffin not having that, like I said, I don't even know if Buddy can make a left-handed layup. If you guess, or if he's left-handed, if he can make a right-handed layup, right? There's just certain language that one can speak when you've been in that same exact shoes. You know what I'm saying? You can speak a whole different language when you've actually done the same work. And that's where President Dumars is masterful at that. He's absolutely, one of the best in that regard. And it mentioned something big about there was a clear shift in the culture within the organization over the past few years. There wasn't a tone setter at the top who could right the ship once things started going south. And I agree. We had a lot of injuries, and that did haunt the team, especially last year. And you got to be able to have someone who, again, can right that ship, who can be a stability force, and who can, say, hey, well, we got this thing set up here. We got this thing set up here. These are bricks by bricks by bricks by bricks by bricks. This is the foundation. How do we keep this afloat? How do we keep this afloat? How do we keep this stable and strong? And the way you do that is by having somebody who is a kick. Maybe I could say it, maybe I can't, but I'm gonna just say kick butt. A kick butt, take no prisoners, take no names type of person. You need that type of person. That's exactly what President Dumars is. You're already hearing him getting in this OG bag, telling Derek Queen, "Oh, your wrist messed up, but those legs ain't. Get to running." Or with Zion, like telling him like it's more than just being, being the star is not just being the best player, but it's really about being a leader of men. I mean, I'm Mandela effect. I'm paraphrasing what he's saying, but dropping that wisdom. These young guys, they need that. They need that. And President Dumars did say, my office is an open one. If guys wanted to leave and be moved, the door was open, and we would have did everything possible to make something happen, right? And by and large, we didn't have many trades happen with our actual team. So that goes to show the players are responding to that. They could have easily been like, yeah, no, I'm out, pack my bags, call a realtor, I'm gonna get my next place. You know what I'm saying? That didn't happen. By and large, we've kept the same roster. So that means a lot. And, this article talked about just even more about the relationship with him and Zion. That's gonna be huge. I think Zion definitely, is someone who has a lot of the intangibles. He has shown when healthy, he has shown when fully locked in and motivated what he's capable of. So having someone like President Dumars who can be a further inspiration, who can be a further mentor to him and really challenge and hold him accountable, it's gonna do wonders. It's gonna do wonders. And it's just actions. And then they talked about drafting Jeremiah Fears, drafting Derek Queen, trading for him. Derek Queen, obviously that was an investment, but what I'm saying, you gotta crack a few eggs to make an omelet. You know what I'm saying? And I think with both of them, I really think that they both are gonna be amazing players for us. I really am excited to see Jeremiah Fears in preseason, see what he can do on a limited basis as far as with minutes. But just to see him out there, I think it's going to be so good for him, get those reps and be ready playing well. Derek Queen, we got to see his availability as he progresses with his recovery on his wrist. But once he's healthy and out there, I think he's also going to have a big year. And when I'm saying big, I'm not saying like they're going to be out there like going nuclear and 20 plus points a game, whatever. No. But as long as they show flashes, as long as they show the ability to get better, you see the growth and potential that's there, then hey, those are picks well spent. was very well picked. Picks well spent. They both have very high ceilings. Talked about the opening night roster, as far as like who be in the starting lineup, and it projected Eve, Zion, Trey Murphy III, Herb, and Jordan Poole. I probably now I'm gonna say this. I like that lineup. I would switch Trey Murphy III and Herb. Put Trey at the two. Trey did spend time at the two a lot last year, but I like that lineup. I like that lineup a lot. So I wouldn't be opposed, but I could also see one where Kevon Looney's a starter. I could see one where Jose does start the year just because of his familiarity with the offense, with Coach Green. But we'll see. But I do like that lineup. That is a very, very talented lineup. And it brought up that Poole brings a similar shot-making presence that existed with C.J. McCollum, which I agree. I agree that's there. And we'll see, and it talked about with DeJounte about what will change and how that will happen. And, because it kind of said the biggest issue is just the defensive liabilitiness with Jordan Poole because he isn't a great defender. That is an Achilles heel of his. But then also with that potentially being an issue, does that put even more pressure on Herb Jones and Trey Murphy III? It should have brought up Trey Murphy III because he's a very talented defender. And said Zion definitely needs to step in a bit more, contribute a little bit more, and just keep getting better at that because I'll open things up. And then also talked about our defensive rebounding issues that we've had because we were 29th. That will change. Again, where we addressed a lot. We're addressing the big man depth. You know what I'm saying? We'll see how that ends up playing out for us. And then the article also talked about just the dynamic with Zion and Trey, them being in that feature role, being the ones and twos. It's going to be exciting, and I think they're going to put up big numbers. I think both of them have all-star potential and could very easily be in the all-star game if we are playing at a high level. Now, if not, then those are empty numbers, but I don't see a scenario like that. I think that for the most part we're going to be all right. I think for the most part we're going to be set, and guys is going to be able to play at a high level. It didn't bring up Garrison Brooks, little UNC jab right there. But no, I hope Garrison Brooks makes the team, is able to provide an impact. And then it just talked about is this team good enough to compete with the best of the best? And it said no. Now, I don't agree with that, but maybe I think it's more so just meaning as far as seeding-wise. We're not there, but I think that as long as we show that fight with the talent that we have, keyword on the fight, we show that junkyard dogness, that scrappiness, I think we're going to be good. I think we're going to be all right. I think that we'll have a team that can go to war against anybody. And sometimes that's all you need. As long as you good in the fight, it don't matter if you win. The win is the fact that you were able to hold your own. You didn't let nobody knock you off your square. And you got to take the small victories while you can before those big victories come about. And it just talked about, the team. There's a lot of talent on this team. There's a lot of talent. And with that lineup of, Zion and Trey, two potential all-stars, a potential DPOY guy, and Herb Jones. I mean, Eve Missy isn't there yet fully, but he's got potential to do something caliber of that in his career. So I feel like overall, and then it just talked about if Zion ends up not working with him just because of his injuries, then it's saying to cut bait. I don't know. We gotta see. I really want y'all understand, man. I want to see Zion succeed not more than anybody, but I really feel optimistic that Zion is going to put it all together this season, have his best year. Again, I've said all offseason and since I started, dark horse MVP candidate. Be on the lookout. But it talked about just if it doesn't work with him, then you do have a great core to build off of with Trey, with Herb, with Eve, with Jeremiah Fierce, Derek Queen, and that's not wrong. And again, it goes back to President Dumars because he was very intentional, very deliberate about building a solid, strong foundation. That was what we struggled with. That was something that we were lacking. And it's not that there wasn't attempts. There definitely was attempts, but this is the best attempt. This is the best attempt yet. So I know I kind of went a little bit long with this, but this is a really good article, and it perfectly encapsulates everything I've been talking about. And how ironic that it'd be the New York Times, Not to take credit and say that I gave them the inspiration, but it's great to see that other people are recognizing what I've been trying to say and what ultimately should sink in y'all heads when you really think about things congruently, analytically, in totality. You know what I'm saying? When you think about things with the utmost objectivity and well-roundedness. So, all right, y'all. Well, great article, some great content, some great things to talk about. But that's going to be it. I hope y'all have a great weekend. Go impact somebody's life. Go be a better person. Go show some love. Show love here. Like, share, subscribe. Support is everything. It goes a long way. Tell a friend, especially if they're a Pelicans fan. Even if they're not, they want to learn more about a great team that is on the come up, that is on the rise. Now is the time. Rhyming accidentally. Make sure to also show love to Fan Arch. They've been doing their thing, killing on the sports content side. But yeah, that's going to be it. I hope y'all have a great rest of your day, especially in the present. And stay tuned and get excited. We got a lot to cover, got a lot to look forward to. And I'm happy to bring y'all that news every time. But y'all have a good one.